Hi, everyone. I'm so excited, y'all. And welcome to the sharing group, y'all. Today's lesson of A Course in Miracles is lesson 103, which states, God being love is also happiness. God being love is also happiness. And as always, this particular lesson is a perfect fit for our beautiful next guest who has explored the true power of love and self love after her near death experience. I'm honored, everyone, to introduce you all to Lee Papa, an internationally recognized mindfulness and meditation speaker, trainer, coach, and author who is here to bless us with her presence, y'all. So, welcome, Lee, to the show. We are so very excited.
Uh, Loretta, I am so thrilled to be here with you. Very excited, kind of
Yeah.
giddy, you know. I'm like, yay.
Yes. So, Lee,
Yes, my
you
dear.
have a slew of wisdom. You have so much y'all. She has so much wisdom to share. So just start wherever you feel is appropriate with your experience, and we would love to hear about your journey.
Thank you. I'll start. I think everybody has a beautiful story to tell, and mine just happens to be around a near-death experience.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the pre-story and the post story really are the most delicious parts, in my opinion. A lot of people want you to go directly into the near death
yeah,
experience, but really, I like to meet people where they are. And for me, where I was not great. The 1.0 Lee was full of fear,
yeah,
looked outside myself for everything.
yeah,
Um, I was raised in a household, loving household, but certainly not healed. Born and raised in Catholic religion, but we didn't we didn't go within. We didn't have the tools back then. My parents certainly did not have the tools. And so a lot of drama, a lot of chaos, a lot of negativity and and so you set yourself up, meaning the first 7 years of your life you're being programmed for that. So I was programmed for that, and I perpetuated that pattern until I knew better. And luckily, the near-death experience certainly catapulted me into this newer understanding, even though I had been a seeker my whole life. But I found myself in 2008 married. I had met my then husband in Los Angeles, and I was at 2008 when I had the experience. I was 44 years old, and it's funny that the A Course in Miracles day that you were on was 103, which is a four, which is my number. And so I was like, okay, nod to spirit, and so I had moved with my husband to Las Vegas because my elderly mother had fallen in Maryland. That's where I was raised, and broken her hip. And my two siblings and I and my mom, we had decided to have mom come to live with us because we really were the only ones that were in a place where we could take her in. And so we were moving her, and that's a very big move for an elderly person. She was in the same house for 40 some years, right? But we really felt that this was going to be a new chapter for her. I was extremely close with my mom, the closest than my other siblings. And we were very much alike. We just fed off of each other, and the sun and the moon just shined on her for me. And so my husband, a European descent, had agreed that mom would come live with us. So we moved to Las Vegas to accommodate that move. Now, we were newlyweds, wanted to have a child. We were struggling with getting pregnant, went through, intervention to support that. Uh, During this time, there was a lot of chaos going on financially in the world. It was during a big financial real estate crisis, and Las Vegas was hit very, very hard because it was overvalued. So there were a lot of pieces to the puzzle going on. And my inner struggle of my livelihood, we were in real estate, so that was my livelihood. It was our livelihood. My mom was coming to live with us. And on top of that, my husband was in a major car accident not 2 months after we arrived. And it just completely changed the trajectory of our lives. He was rear-ended, sitting in a light where he had nowhere to go. He saw the truck coming, wasn't slowing. He braced himself, and it changed this human being. He was gentle, he was loving, he was funny, um, playful, he was just lovely, and it completely changed his personality. Chronic pain, going through a lawsuit where you are daily reinforcing your disability, uh, lays down a pattern of being disabled and being angry. And so this just again reinforced this already stirring chaos and trauma in our lives. And we were both two unhealed people. And although we were both seekers and felt that we were on a trajectory of bettering ourselves, we were definitely unhealed people. And so in this process of his pain, uh, the the deepening of the trouble that was stewing in our relationship, my mother was now living with us, and she was not handling it well. There was this whole other part to the story that was happening, but the bright spot in all of it was that we got pregnant. We got pregnant on our own, and we had this amazing bright light come in 2005. So I'm going to now take you to 2008, where still, although we have this beautiful child that is really the glue that's keeping everything together, I was sick all the time. I was unhealed. I was still seeking outside myself. And my mother was basically doing kind of a disappearing act. She was on the phone all the time. What I didn't know, she was complaining about what was going on, and I was taking it. I overheard a conversation that just was heart-wrenching, because we basically gave up our relationship and our life to have my mom come live with us, and I was seeing a new mom that everybody else saw, my siblings saw, but I never saw, because she only gave me this piece that was our little private bond, but it really wasn't the whole of who she was. Again, unhealed. And so we perpetuated this relationship that was very toxic. And and so that was all bubbling up while this other thing was bubbling up about my husband and his accident and the lawsuit and all of this drama and trauma, and me being sick all the time, right? So we cut to, he decides that he wants to go on this 10-day Vipassana meditation, 10 days of noble silence. It's at a retreat house in Colorado. He was going to drive. It's like 10 or 11 hours from Las Vegas. And I was sick. I had this upper respiratory thing. And I was very supportive in anything that he was going to do to dig himself out of this hole, right? And so he asked if I would just go to get some antibiotics or go to a doctor, because at this point I was really just doing holistic means of wellness. I was raised in that, but I had kind of got kicked off, and so it was time to regroup on it. And so I agreed. Wasn't really crazy about it, but I agreed to go, and I went to get the antibiotics. And as I was leaving, I was on the phone with him. He was going into the retreat house, leaving his cell phone because there's no contact in those 10 days. And then instead of resting, I did what the Virgo in me does. I made a list. I made a list of all the things I needed to get done while he was gone. And I was like a woman on a mission. But the problem is that my body was really in a chronic place, and I wasn't getting better. And within a couple of days of not caring for myself, I was down. I was on my back. I was in bed. Um, it then led to kind of being in and out of consciousness, not knowing when I had eaten last, not knowing if I had had any water, not knowing where my toddler son was. Then I got scared because I started to kind of feel my spirit lifting, but my conscious mind was alert enough to say, this is not going to be good. If I leave, my mom, my elderly mother, will not know how to get in touch with my husband. What will happen with my toddler walking around the house? I couldn't even get out a whisper to kind of call my mom, and she was nowhere to be found. And so I got enough energy to grab my phone and contact my girlfriend, who is my son's godmother, to come and get him. She said she could keep him overnight, and she did that. She came, and then with that sense of security that he was cared for, uh, I don't know how long it took, but I left my body. And that freedom of your spirit just lifting out of your body was Dr. Michael Beckwith. I don't know if you know who he is, but um, he is a minister for a church in Los Angeles called Agape, and he's a brilliant writer. And um, he always described death is like taking off a tight shoe. And it's exactly what it feels like. It is a freedom. It is like this beautiful, huge spirit is shoved in this little confine of our physical structure. And so it's just freedom. I was a sphere of light, no body, fully conscious, uh, blissful. I was in light. So if you can think the brightest and whitest of lights, lightning strike white is the atmosphere. And then you are this vibrational sphere of light. And I just was like, woohoo! There was the most blissful feeling you can imagine, full of love, full of light, full of expanse. And then it felt like I was in a in-between place, like a tweener place. Like I kind of describe it as like the platform of a train station before you actually get on the train to go where you're going. Although there was no visual like that, but that was the feeling. And then off in the distance, which again is kind of a weird thing because this light, you wouldn't expect that there would be depth perception, but there was. And I didn't have eyes, but I could fully see. And off in the distance, there were these two light beings. Describe them. They're in human form, but they were light. So you didn't see facial expression. Um, but the one on the left was very masculine energy. The one on the right was more feminine energy. The masculine energy was a little taller, a little fuller. The one on the right, again, a little smaller. And as they came toward me to greet me, they were not people like from my past or that who had transitioned or Jesus or religious figures, but they felt like they had some authority, some level of authority, and they were loving, but felt firm, like they had a job to do. And they explained that I have free will and that I could continue to go on to the other side, but there were things for me to know about before I made this full decision. And in that, they gave me what I call a relationship review, where a lot of NDEers have a full, like 360 visual review. I did not have that. Mine was very visceral, it was very empathic, more about feeling. And each person that was significant in my life, it would wash over me. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the dogs.
Oh,
Um, holiday season, people come to the door. Um, anyway, so the important part of it was that the feeling would wash over me of the wisdom and the knowledge and the love of the relationship. So it was just so beautiful. There was no woulda, coulda, shoulda. There was no, oh, I remember when that person did that, or, nothing. It was just the pure essence of the love of the relationship and the soul that was known as that person, and the wisdom and the knowledge that came from the experience. And then that would wash away. And then the next person would come, and I would have that same feeling, that nuance of the wisdom and the knowledge of that particular relationship. My husband was second to last. And like I had said, we were really in a challenged spot. Quite frankly, we didn't like each other at that point. And so when he washed over, it was just love. It was love for the experience of knowing that soul for every obstacle, every contrast, every blissful experience, just love and the wisdom and knowledge of the experience. And then washed away, and then they left my son to last. And Loretta, when I tell you, and you're a mom,
Mhm.
it was different. I usually kind of get teary around this time because it's so pure, softer, and just the appreciation and gratitude for birthing this child, for growing this child, for, and he was, he was young, he was a toddler. Uh, but having the experience was just so yummy and blissful. And then when that washed away, I came back to, okay, let's go. So it was crazy because, as a mom, and I have one child, helicopter mom, complete helicopter mom. And so, he was always attached to me. I wore him for months, right, when he was first born. And I'd wear him now if I could, but he's 6'3". And there was still no attachment. So only love and no attachment. And they said, okay, but there's still a piece to this puzzle, basically. And that is, if you transition at such a young age, he will not fulfill his destiny because he has lost his mother in previous lives and he would not be able to fulfill this. And so we want you to feel the feeling of what he would feel at the loss of his mom at such a young age. And I agreed. And with that, it felt like shards of glass ripping through my soul. And for probably the first 6 months to a year, I couldn't even tell this part of the story because it was just so close. I would sob. I'd break into a sob because that grief, that feeling of emotional pain, you wouldn't wish on anyone, much less a child. I mean, much less an enemy, but definitely not a child, right? Um, and so with that, I agreed. And what's funny is that your personality stays with you because I'm very much the negotiator. And so even on the other side, I was like, okay, so I will be this beautiful soul's mom and I will, you know, care for him until he doesn't need that level of care.
Mhm.
And I will do the work of the light, which was part of the deal.
Mhm.
And but when I want to go, I want to go. So no drawn out illness, no craziness. When I want to go, I get to go. And with that, it was agreed, and I was back in my body, and I was back in my bed, and I sat up like 90 some percent better, and I was like, what the just happened to me?
Wow.
I had no idea. I was calling it a fantasy of death.
Wow.
I had this residue left on me that made everything look beautiful and alive and vibrant. And I sat in my bed, I don't know how long, Loretta, just staring at the door, staring at the hinges, staring at the doorknob. Everything was just so beautiful and alive. And I was like, I need some help. And you want me to take a break as I can keep going?
That was beauty. For the first thing well, thank you for sharing.
Of
Before
course.
I forget, do you still see life like that when you said everything was alive? Did that kind of, as you adjusted, did that kind of fade away, or do you still see stuff like
Yeah, that's
that?
a great question. So when I said I needed help, I actually sought help. I called my sister at the time, and spoke to her. She was in metaphysics and she was doing a lot of studying with meditation, and I sought some advice from her. And then I had a spiritual mentor friend and I sought advice from her. And this was all within, like, I don't know, within maybe an hour or two of it happening. She referred me to her spiritual mentor in Texas, in Houston, and she contacted me and I explained what the situation was. And she said, that's a textbook near death experience. She said, this residue that you're feeling, she's the one that gave me the term for it. She said, will slowly dissipate over a period of 2 weeks. So journal, journal, journal. She said, because you will spend the rest of your life trying to get back there. And she was absolutely right. So it did slowly dissipate over this period of 2 weeks. And I was just trying to hold on to it for dear life because it is spectacular. And I believe it's what heaven on earth is without this encrusted veil of darkness that we have on us in this third dimensional experience. But after that, I was able to bring my son home, and I had this newfound understanding, and I just couldn't get enough of him. And the next day, I woke up and I went in the bathroom to brush my teeth, take a shower, and something was off. And I looked in the mirror and I saw that half my face was paralyzed. And I started to laugh. And let me tell you, this was not the same person. So I call myself the Lee 2.0 after the near death experience because this was not the same person. I would have been crazy upset. I would have been in major fear. I would have thought I was having a stroke. All of the drama, trauma, unhealed business, right? But I didn't. I had no fear. And I just laughed and I was like, okay, right, I hear you. And I went about my business, got my son ready for preschool, and uh, dropped him off. My mother didn't say anything about my face. She had, like, there was just no recognition. And I dropped him off, went to the emergency room. I'm like, can you do something about this? And they were like, oh, thinking I'm in the middle of a stroke. Send me back. I'm like, it's not a stroke. I know it's not a stroke. And it was Bell's palsy. So that was the beginning of a very interesting new road for me because I realized I had a lot of awarenesses post near death experience. I call it the universal chess game because spirit is so brilliant that I could not have had the same experience if my husband had been home. So my mom basically kind of sequestered herself away, and I was there to just really process this time. And I had a business that was really struggling. In that moment, after the emergency room, I called my partner. We decided to close the business. I was told, I was given medicine. I was told I may or may not get my face back after like 6 months. And I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. I'm a bit headstrong. So I'm like, no, we'll take care of this. So with guidance, with spiritual guidance, and let me tell you, post near death experience, I've been guided by spirit my whole life post that. And we all are. We just have to acknowledge it and work with it and understand where the cues are. But through acupuncture and Reiki and my spiritual connection with spirit, I was healed in 6 weeks. I had some residual, like, when I got tired, my eye would droop a little bit, but after that, nothing. So completely healed. And we do have that ability to heal ourselves, I believe. So that's kind of the first set of the chapters, if you will, of the near-death experience. And then, the post is how you show up in the world and how other people come on the ride with you or don't.
Wow, profound, profound, profound experience. I love how you talked about how the doctors told you it's going to be, it may be like that permanently. And you said, nope, because so much of our experience is our belief system. So much of our experience is our belief system. And I heard you speak on another platform where you talked about you kept saying you were sick. And so therefore you kept being sick,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly right. I would say, oh, don't get near me. I'll get that. We're very powerful creators, very powerful. Now I say, I'm never sick. And even if something should come down the pike and I get a sniffle or something, I'm like, no, that's not happening.
Love it.
And it's not that you don't do anything. Like I'll take a supplement or, I'll do something to ward it off, but I know that I'm not going down, right? Right.
Yeah,
But
I love,
the belief system thing is a really powerful conversation. That in itself is a really
yes.
great place because um, as I don't know how many NDEers you've interviewed, but there are some common threads, and then there are some parts that are completely different. And in my book, I wrote about an experience because I took 4 years to write the original manuscript. And I went to a beautiful place in California called Three Rivers, and it's an amazing place. I have a friend who owns an inn there, and I was there writing. And I went to a coffee shop, and it's a small town, so people, everybody talks, right? And I was at a coffee shop, and this woman tapped me on the shoulder in line and said, "Are you Lee Papa?" Which was very surreal, right? And I'm like, okay. And she said, "I heard that you were here writing a book about your near-death experience." And I'm like, wow, small towns. And she said, "My husband had a near-death experience. Can I share?" And I'm like, absolutely. So she began to share as if it were her experience. It was really quite interesting. And she was so animated about it that her husband had met Jesus and she saw angels and she heard singing. And, it was just very what you would consider Christian based, right? Now, I was born and raised Catholic. I have Christian upbringing. I believe in Jesus. I love Jesus. I have an intimate relationship with Jesus and God. Um, I can call myself Christian. So, but Jesus didn't come to me. I didn't hear the music, right? But she explained her entire experience, her husband's entire experience. And then at the end, she said, "I'm so glad we were right." And I thought, interesting, because my experience was just as profound.
Whoa.
And no one was going to tell me that that wasn't real or wrong, which will take me to the conversation I had with my husband when he returned. But is it belief? I love the what ifs, right? Because we can't pretend to know what all this is. We just keep following the breadcrumbs that take us to the next level, to the next level. And if we allow ourselves to be so stuck in our beliefs, we will atrophy. Just like if we find that we do not move the body, we will atrophy. The muscles will atrophy. So we must stretch. We must stretch the body. We must stretch our beliefs. We must be open to the growth and the understanding. Because in our immaturity, our emotional and spiritual immaturity, we can't possibly know all there is to know. We're not capable of it. And this is why I love the book, Disappearance of the Universe. Disappearance of the Universe. Um, because I resonated with so much of what is said there, because it's about being able to be open to what you're
Mhm.
ready for in this next understanding. I think I went all over the place there. But going back to belief, when my husband came home, he called me immediately coming out of the retreat. And he said, "What's going on?" I couldn't meditate at all. I could feel that something was going on there. And I was like, "Yep, there's something going on." I said, "But we'll wait until you come home." No, no, no. He's like, "I got to know." I said, "I can't. I just need you to know everything is okay. It has nothing to do with our son. Everything is good. I just need you to come home and listen to it, in person." Okay, fine. Now remember, we weren't doing great, but he came home and I remember, sitting on the couch. We had like an L-shaped couch. He was on one side. I was facing him. It was the first person besides my sister and, my friend and the mentor that was hearing the story. And it was just, I think, just really a couple days after. And I detailed it. He was completely quiet, which he had already warned me ahead of time that coming off of 10 days of silence, you're not really very talkative. But so I was giving him kind of that benefit and I was going through and detailing. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I could kind of hear his thoughts. I'm like, oh, you don't believe me.
Mm.
And again, 2.0 Lee was like, that's okay. The 1.0 Lee would have been in tears, would have been devastated, would have felt unworthy, would have felt stupid, would have felt all these things because I wasn't full myself. But 2.0 Lee was so full of the light that I said, it doesn't matter. This was the most profound, was the truest experience of my life. And no one is going to tell me differently. Didn't matter because it was just mine. It
Yeah.
was a beautiful, pure experience of the love of God that no one was going to take away. And so that kind of solidified some widening of the gap between
Mhm.
us. And then really it helped me to start understanding that this isn't just like you flip a switch when you're back. There's levels of understanding that will come with coming back with the experience, like an integration of this. And over this period of years, since 2008, it's been a constant evolution of integration and growth and integration and growth and new awarenesses and growth. And that leads us to where we are today.
Wow, I love the 1.0 and the 2.0. I love it. You mentioned the work of the light. Tell us about that, Lee. What is the work of the light?
Um, for me personally, it's just following spirit, following what spirit guides me to do and doing it to my best ability and checking in, and you can call that prayer, meditation. I feel like my life post near-death experience has been a constant prayer. My life is a prayer. And so it's not like, oh, this amount of time I'm in prayer. I'm in prayer always. And I'm like, are you good with that? And I kind of gesture, but it's really here, right? So, you know, I'm always asking spirit, is this where you want me to be? Is this to the highest and best for everyone? Not only for my goals. And let me tell you, I don't always listen because when I don't listen, things fall apart. And when I think I know better, spirit's going to laugh and say, okay, go ahead, go with that, and let's see what happens, right? So, with that spiritual maturity, you know that God, creator, source, the divine is the light, is always in the driver's seat. You let go of the reins and you just go one step in front of the other and do the physical. Uh, but spirit is guiding. Now, I want to answer your question more fully, and that is in the book. I received what some people call a channel. Um, I now just call it spirit guidance, right? And it's worth the price of admission because I'd like to read it to you. It's only a page and a quarter
Yes, please.
because it talks about what the basically what our understanding or what our purpose is around the light. Okay, here we go. Love enters us from a well of existence that is streaming from the natural source, source with a capital S. We do not own it. It flows freely and is given with no requirement or judgment of its use. It is the life force of all creation. I am here to tell you that this life force runs through each and every one of you and each and every one of all living beings in the cosmos. If you could glimpse, oh, just got to chill. If you could glimpse for just one moment the purity of the light of all existence, the same moment that we allowed Lee to experience and to draw upon for her strength in her journey as she continues to expand into the being that she already is, it would most definitely change you. The worry and the fear that penetrates every layer of your current existence would vanish like a streak of lightning in the night sky. It would melt all the worry and darkness from your hearts and fill you with the light of love for all mankind. There would be there would be no differences, no wars to fight, no burdens of finance. As with this love, all things for all people are possible. Your limited knowing of what the light is the only problem or issue that you need to solve. The only issue, as once this clarity is yours, you will no longer seek anything but the essence that is the light of pure energy. You see, the strength that is the you that you do not know is just below the surface to be uncovered by you. This is the journey you see. It is the unveiling of the shell that you have encrusted upon yourself in darkness so that you can see again. The world is your playground, your playhouse, your school, and it is that for each and every one of you. Some of you see now, and some of you are beginning to see, and it is a joyous occasion for all of those who are able to see this unfold. It is glorious in many ways as your existence is unfolding in the hands of those who seek. You are the beauty and the life of all beings and all people, and the sages of the old ways will no longer be the ones that you follow, as the followers will be only you in your own path of seeking. This is true for all. Do not seek to find what is already within you. The path to the enlightened is with you.
That was beautiful.
When that came through, I just typed it all out. And when that happens, it's just like you hear a word, you type the word. So you're not kind of putting it all together until you read it. And I was blown away. And the vibration that came with that was so elevated. The buzzing in my ear, the frequency in my ear was so high. And that message is really what I take with me to share in many different forms, because that's evolved over the years. You know, Spirit guided me to open a wellness center shortly after uh, the near-death experience. So in 2009, I opened a wellness center in 2 rooms that became 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 13 rooms. And then Spirit guided me that it needed to be much bigger by 11, 11, 11. And that's a really very powerful story within a story. And that's the thing about the book, is there are like stories within stories. And um and that was a huge experience for 6 years. And so we grew to 6,000 square feet with a cafe and event space. Um, and I did, I was a Reiki master, did theta healing and all kinds of energy work, and taught meditation as well as Reiki, and did private practitioner work until Spirit said, go global. And I was like, I can't open up wellness centers all over the world. I could barely keep the doors open on this one. and um and then Spirit's so fun because, I hear the guidance and then I'm like, Oh, okay. So I have to open up centers. Oh, I have to get some investment money. I have to, right. So here I am buzzing, 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 trying to do the physical manifestation of this. And creators like, yeah, okay, go ahead, knock yourself out, get tired. And then all of a sudden, when none of that was working, I get a phone call out of the blue. Is this Lee Papa? My name is Erica. I'm representing the largest meeting planners conference in Las Vegas. We have 14,000 international meeting planners that come every year, and we were referred to you by a wellness expert. And as a wellness expert in Las Vegas, would you come speak? And it's like ding ding ding, like the bells go off. I feel like the movie It's a Wonderful Life. And when I forgot what the angel's name was, Clarence. When Clarence got his wings, the little bells ring. It's like when spirit talks to you, you feel like that God wink, that something significant has just happened. And that changed the trajectory of everything, because that became the new global approach, because spirit wanted me to have a bigger audience. And so I ended up closing the center. I created my keynote, How to Live and Lead Mindfully. I created something called the Mindfulness Lounge, which teaches meditation and mindfulness throughout conference. So if your conference is 3 days or 5 days, I'm there the entire time. And that became my work from 2015 to today.
That's beautiful work. That leads into my next question, Lee. Okay, so what you read was so powerful, right? And it talked about accessing that love and that light within, right? Not to go without for it. So, of course, that led you to the mindfulness practice. Can you talk about your mindfulness practice work? And do you have any tips for people to access that? Because I feel like folks hear a lot that the love is within you, the truth is within you, you are powerful beings, but they don't feel it, they don't experience it, they have not been able to access that. So do you have any like beginners tips? And of course we're going to highlight her book, y'all. She has a free ebook on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
See? So that's a great resource. But
Yes.
yeah, do you have a couple?
Oh yeah, this lights me up. I love this work because I've seen, first of all, it came from spirit, so I'm all over that. And then I've been able to witness thousands upon thousands of people, because I do conferences all over the United States and work with corporations, and I'm able to see people who have never had a glimmer of quiet in their mind come out of an experience of a meditation where they're like, whoa, right? So Spirit told me global first. I go to this event. I see a sea of international people in the meetings and events industry, which is one of Forbes put them on one of the top 10. I think they were always like up in the top 5 most stressful jobs,
Mhm.
up with military, up with pilots, firemen. And I saw this sea and it came to me, stress is worn like a badge of honor here. And I'm like, oh, you're good. Because some of the things that just drop into my consciousness, they drop in from this part of my consciousness. I know it's not like a linear thought that brought me there. So I know it's spirit.
Mhm.
And so it became the tagline, stress is not a badge of honor, nor is it a requirement to get the job done. And then spirit said mindfulness, and this is the definition I am to use. Mindfulness is awareness. Most people go, I'm aware, right? I got this. But awareness of your thoughts and actions and the world around you. Here you go. I need a drum roll. In non-judgment. Oh, it's a different story. So, awareness of your thoughts and actions in the world around you in non-judgment. We're
Mhm.
taught judgment from the time we go to school, sometimes even earlier,
Yeah.
right? and all the judgment on the external world that we gets reinforced with everything. But who do we judge the most?
Ourselves.
Of course, Loretta.
Yeah.
And everyone gets that. I could be speaking to 14, 15,000 people, and everyone will say ourselves. It's a beautiful thing because everyone knows it.
Mhm.
So how do we expect to turn the ship around of judgment by thinking we're just going to stop judging externally? We cannot. We have to start here. We have to stop judging ourselves first. Oh, Spirit, amen. So mindfulness equals awareness of your thoughts and actions in the world around you and non-judgment. And we start here. And we do that through, you talked about that little free booklet. You download that book on my website, leepapa.com, leepapa.com. You're going to see 3 buckets and you'll say free ebook. Download that ebook because it is the roadmap to living mindfully, understanding self-love, self-care, and self-mastery. All these programs out there that are like, oh, master yourself and you're going to get to mastery. You can't jump to self-mastery until you get a really strong foundation in self-love and self-care. They feed on themselves. And it is something that you practice. It is not selfish. It is something that we must do so that our cup is full. We nourish ourselves mindfully, and then we give from the overflow.
Yeah.
So the mindfulness piece of this became just my passion, my light. I love this work because I shine the light. I'm basically a flashlight. I shine the light on the places that need to be lit up in you, but you're doing the work, right? You have to commit to your own self that you are worthy and not look outside yourself like I did, Lee 1.0, to fill my cup or to fill the void that's inside me because I didn't realize that I was pure love, that I was pure light, that I was having God live within me. I didn't know that. I thought God was out there. And with the coursework and this beautiful book that we talked about, The Disappearance of the Universe, so many of us do that.
Yeah.
So many of us are looking externally for everything. And when we realize that that illusion that we're separate from God is just an illusion, that we never really fell from God, that we never are apart from God, woo, feel the chills.
I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to repeat for everybody with
Good.
self-love. Without self-love and self-care, we will never get to self-mastery. I agree with that 100%. People do not value the self-love, the importance of self-love. It goes so deep, y'all. I just did a video on that on this platform
Oh,
that
good.
you cannot love another unless and until you love yourself. So no, that is huge.
And I'm going to piggyback on that, Loretta, because so many people are out there. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the movie, uh, oh my gosh, what was it called? With Tom Cruise, You Complete Me. You know that phrase, You Complete Me,
Mhm, mhm.
Jerry Maguire. And
Yeah.
when that came out, everybody was like, oh, swooning, you complete me. The guy or the girl completes the other person. And like, no, because I'm going to tell you what the follow-up to that movie was, and that was divorce court. Because there's no way that when you have a union where you're looking to that other person to complete you, that's never going to last. You must come whole, and you come whole. Two people come whole and full, and that is the optimal relationship. There's not going to be the drama and the trauma and the triggers and the sadness and the tears and the resentment and the anger. There won't be that because you will be emotionally and spiritually mature. and you show up in these relationships healed through self-love and self-care.
You have two whole healed people in a relationship instead of two broken people trying to be one whole healed person. Absolutely. That's absolutely it. You have said something, and I noticed that you have one of the books that you have on your website is The Power of Now. I love Eckhart Tolle. I love Eckhart Tolle. And you've talked about being the observer,
Mm.
which is powerful stuff.
Mhm.
When we are the observer, that is when we get to break away from conditioning, right? I've heard you talked about instead of leaning in, right? You step back, right? And you look at, like you said, with the non-judgment, you're not even involved. You don't react, right? Uh, I just thought there's so much power in being the observer of our experiences.
I want to thank you, Loretta. First of all, you're a beautiful and wonderful interviewer.
Oh,
Your
thank
light is so strong and so beautiful. And I could feel it in the email when you reached out to me. So I didn't need to look at your videos or your YouTube, or I could just feel you. And I was like, yes. Um, but the research that you did to prepare for this, I just want to thank you for that. That really means a lot. The Observer, there's a really wonderful book, and Eckhart Tolle is phenomenal. But if you're not ready for him, you're going to break your head, because you're going to go, what? It's a lot. So I'm going to recommend another book called Self-Observation by Red Hawk. And actually, way back when, like 5, 7 years ago, um, I started reading sections of that book on my YouTube channel. I've never been very good at consistency with YouTube, but I noticed that those two videos have the most views reading that book. And I'm much better, by the way. You know, I have a podcast now. So there's lots of stuff on my YouTube channel, which is
you. Mention that for
yeah,
us.
Live Mindfully. And it's a little tricky because there's two L's in the middle. There's another person that has one with one L, but LiveMindfullee. And my podcast is called Sunday Communion Podcast with Lee Papa and Friends, which you're going to be on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we just need to keep perpetuating these types of conversations to make it, more comfortable for people. Um, anyway, I went off on a tangent. Where was I?
You were talking about self-observation
Oh,
by
Self-Observation by Red Hawk. Thank you for bringing me back. Um, that is a really great book, and it helps you to look at your patterns. So for me, I went back and I'm like, okay, so I looked at every relationship, intimate relationship that I had, and what were like the top 3 or top 5 highlights of those relationships. And then I started to see a theme going on, right? And I'm like, oh, and then you realize, oh, the theme is not them. The theme is me. And when you look at it, have the review, and this is a great time of year to do that, right? When you're wrapping up a year, when you look at your life in review and you can see those common denominators and you see that it's all you, and you see that it's a pattern from your childhood, because 0 to 7 years old, your brain is in theta state. Theta state is hypnosis. So that's why psychiatrists and therapists, they all take you back to your childhood, not to blame your parents because they're doing the best that they can, but to look at the pattern. So the pattern was laid down with your eyes, your ears, everything you saw, everything you felt, everything you experienced. 0 to 7, you were laying down your pattern. You were laying down your software. If you were a computer, you're laying down your software. And all your life and all your future relationships and experiences, you kept clicking the icon. Repeat, 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 repeat. But until you reflect and become the observer, You don't know
Yeah.
because you're the participant
Yeah.
of every experience in the tornado of your experience of all the dramas and traumas. And oh, it's always somebody else.
Mhm.
But until you lean back and become the observer and take full responsibility, not in blame, but
Mhm.
in mindful observation.
Mhm.
Oh, it's just a pattern. It's just a computer virus. I can change that.
Mhm.
And so you start acknowledging that. And I'm telling you, your life is going to start changing. And it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
And you just keep clicking on the new icon that you're laying down, that software that you're laying down. And that's what the work that I do is I kind of put in new software, but you got to click it.
Lee, tell us, I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us there's something that you have said that I fell in love with that I don't want to let you go before we talk about. You said, I know my creator has my back. And it makes me think of a lesson in A Course in Miracles that talks about like if you're in a situation and you're perceiving chaos, but you say, I could see peace instead of this, but I love how you said, my creator has my back. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then I wanted you to just talk about a little bit about your ideal client for what you do.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
So that came to me through experience, like we all are learning through our experiences. And I realized I love like little analogies and things like that. So I'm like, so it's like the universal chess game, right? And creator, um, again, plug in the name that works for you. And I might change it up depending on my mood. God
Yeah.
doesn't care what you call him.
Yeah.
Just so long you call. Um, so creator has this beautiful chess game that is our life, right? And pieces are being moved around. And sometimes you have to move a piece that looks like you're getting blocked. And then something else happens and it opens up. And I'm not a chess player, but this was what was given. And before you know it, you're like, you think you're about to lose, and then something opens up and, checkmate. And it's exactly what happened when I had my near-death experience, right? Things got moved around that would have been perceived like I was ill, I was sick, and then my husband went off for 2 weeks, and then I got very sick, right? Some of these things, if you looked at it, you would say, oh, you know, I was raised in this phrase, poor so and so, which, of course, that's what perpetuates this negativity. But someone would perceive it as negative, but in fact, it was beautifully orchestrated. And I learned over time that no matter what it looks like in the manifested physical world, Creator is always vying for my highest and best, and always vying for my highest and best and the highest and best of everyone around. So I have to trust, no matter what it looks like. I have to trust. I get a flat tire on the road. I'm limping along off the ramp. And instead of saying, I got a flat tire and it's going to cost me and blah, 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 blah. Well, what if instead of the flat tire, I was in the middle of very heavy traffic and the tire blew? Or the other, and I was in a major accident. Or worse, I caused an accident that hurt other people. So I know I may not know all the bits to the puzzle, but I know and I trust and I have faith that Creator is always has my back and is always to my highest and best. And whether I can see it or not, I know that to be true.
Okay.
And when we are in hindsight, we can see how things played out so beautifully,
Yeah,
masterful.
that is so true.
The other thing I wanted to talk about as far as mindfulness and judgment, people have to understand this idea of judgment is so ridiculous because we are all spirit, we're all souls having a physical experience. And we chose these physical incarnations, these meat suits, whatever you want to call it, to have the experience that we chose to have. And we've been everything. We've been everything. We've reincarnated and been everything. So for me to judge you or for you to judge me is that we're judging ourselves. So I thought it kind of dropped in to make the statement that it was important for people to understand that when we stop judging ourselves, we stop judging others. And when we realize that we are spirit first, having a physical experience, and that we are here to have experience, and that we are here to have experience in contrast until we no longer need the contrast. So when we start loving, choosing love and acceptance of the beauty of all, and we release the contrast of judgment, we no longer will need the contrast to have the life experience. And that's heaven on earth, my friends.
So Lee, what else do you have going on? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we close out and you give us your words of wisdom before we close out? What are the
Well, check out the website. Not everything is on all on all pathways, but if you go to the website leepapa.com, it's a great starting point. You'll have my shop there, which has all the recommended books. You can get my book on the website or on Amazon. I have the audio version of the book, Temple of All Knowing. Um, and then all the other resources are there. The free book, which is the roadmap to living mindfully, understanding self-love, self-care, self-mastery. I talk about mind, body, spirit, that you need to give focus to all three, not just one. So it's like, just working on your arms and never working on your legs, right? You need to do all three. So there's a really amazing superfood product that my naturopath put me on called Leveden. And you can go to leepapa.leveden, LIVEDEN.com. That changed me physically. I had issues with hypothyroidism and things like that. I leveled out hormones, stopped craving. It's a really an amazing thing. So I definitely think the 1, 2, 3 punch is the mind, body, spirit connection. If you are an executive, you are interested in bringing mindfulness into your companies, into your events, definitely go to the website and reach out to me. You can always email me through the website on the contact page. And that's it. The website, the YouTube channel, and just explore.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Thanks.
much for everything. And we listen, I'm gonna re-listen to this video to pick up on all these different nuggets and resources, y'all. Uh, so Lee,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna read you your closing remarks. Lee, when I settle down to open up my energy to my guides and the guides of my guests to dictate the closing remarks, I am often drawn to a particular component of their near-death experience or spiritual experience, something that was revealed to them, a part of their co-creation with the divine. But when I connected with your energy, it is not a specific experience you have had that draws me in. Quite the contrary, it is the all of it.
Mm.
You exude the love and the light and the lessons and the consistency and the forgiveness and the courage that you are. You embody the work that you have done on yourself. It follows you. The work that you've done, the vibration that you hold, literally shines through your essence, and it is felt not only through your form, but your energy. You carry the beautiful light that you are. No matter what screen I look at you through, your light, your work, your service shines through and greets whoever you encounter before you even say hello. The work that you do withinly and the work that you do outward is like a lighthouse that shines the way in the dark expanse to serve as a beacon for all to see and find their way home. It is clear to me, Lee, that you are a divine being of light, like we all are, who just happened to have a near death experience. Your experience did not happen to you, you happened to it. You are a force. You are a force of love. Congratulations on the work that you have done on yourself. It is palpable. It's palpable and so delicious. It really is. Thank you for being here today with us, Lee, and blessing us with your presence. It has been an honor having you on the show.
Girl, I told you don't make me cry.
Yes, yes.
What a beautiful gift that was. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I enjoyed this show tremendously. And you are also a force. So I'm tickled to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity and for the beautiful love that you just gave me. I'm going to carry it with me all day.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone. I hope y'all enjoyed this fiery interaction with Lee and myself. And if you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. Check out, I'll have all these information in the subscription box. Check out her links, y'all, her website. She got beautiful books. She has a free ebook. She has a YouTube channel. Like, check out her stuff. It really is very authentic, rooted in love and authenticity. And we close out, Lee, with the heart. There you go. Throw them hearts up.
Love
And
it.
thank you, everyone who has joined. We love you all. Right, Lee? We love you
So
all.
good. Much love to you.
Until next time, y'all. Bye
Take
bye.
care, everybody.